Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Richard with Surreal Sculptures. Hey, what do you know, huh? Today's been kind of a wackadoo day. Just last 2 days I was supposed to get some traction done on not only your piece, but also this is kind of resetting up a new studio, and it's kind of gotten a little weird. But anywho, a couple things. First off, we got your mold set up. This is your mold for your new head. This is basically, I know it looks very simple, and it is, but this is going to be a butterfly mold like the other molds you saw that I had. The same thing. You can use all kinds of containers. You can use paper cups and plastic cups. These clear ones are the best because when you're pouring the silicone, you can see how much silicone you're putting in, which is really handy. But your head is good to go. The mold is set up, and if you look real carefully, it's precise in there. So what'll happen is when it's done and it's ready, the mold will look like this. So you pour in the resin on top, and you use a knife to initially open up the mold, and that's your mold basically. It's a butterfly's mold or a jeweler's mold. I don't do two-piece molds because there's not for these little pieces. If I'm doing a big piece, you know, where the head is like this big and the body's 4 feet, well, then you do what's called a matrix mold, and that's just a real pain. I don't like to do those unless I absolutely have to. Now we're gonna have some fun with some dry brushing. I want to show you some cool things I was doing. I was kind of tooling around with rope. This rope is kind of dry brushed in different ways, all different varieties. It's not really rope; it's string, but I've made it look like really weathered rope, which is kind of cool. What we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and do a little dry brushing on your tripod right now. So basically, what we've done is we put in one coat of black. We use something called crystal clear. After you put on the base color. Crystal clear is kind of like an acrylic, and you put that on afterwards. If you don't, what will happen is the brown will mix with the black because it's acrylic, and you'll be very, very upset because it won't be right. So let me get a container for the. Where are you? There you go. We're going to go ahead and we're going to load it up with some brown. Now the trick with dry brushing, I'm going to zoom this down a little bit here. Is you go ahead and here's the brown right here. I'm going to shake it up. Shake it up good. All right, wait a minute. This is brown. Okay, we'll do this brown. And drop it in. And this is just good old Craftsman brand acrylic. This is satin. This isn't the one I wanted. Hold on, let me pause this. Hold on a second. Okay, folks, we're back. We're going to go ahead and use this. It's a different kind of brown. It's the other one was a satin. We don't want satin. We want flat acrylic. But what you do is you do things in flat. If you want to shine it up later, you can throw all the lacquer on there and shine it up as much as you want. But initially, you kind of want it flat if you can all. So this is, we're going to go ahead and put the. Looks like that sucker's gone. Probably all the other posts I made. Okay, here's the trick behind dry brushing. So let me go ahead and jack this up. Is what you do is you load it up with, you load your brush up with paint. You really get it on there. This is the tricky part. We have to be really careful. Okay, now what you do is you take off as much paint as you possibly can. Take as much off as you can, so there's just a little tiny bit left on there. Okay, and this is dry brushing. Okay, I think we got it. Then we take your piece, and what we do is we just go over it really lightly like this. I'm going to take off a little bit more. And what it does is it goes on the edges. It goes on the top, but it doesn't go into the what do you call it? It doesn't go into the dark crevices. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'll do it a couple times. But what happens is it starts to get a weathered look with the top being slightly brown, but all the cracks being what do you call black, because they're cracks. Let's do it again. Let's go and load up with some paint. Take off as much as we can. And you know, you can even and unfortunately, dry brushes really take a beating. You end up throwing them out more often than not because they get all mangled up and everything. All right, let's just go real lightly at first. Go real lightly. It's coming out pretty good. It's coming out kind of cool. And that's basically dry brushing for this particular piece. For this particular, see, I'm going over that. You go now. Look at the edge. The edge starts to get kind of a weathered look, but it's not affecting the black part. The darker cracks of the post. And this is a pretty cool technique. You can use it all the time. You have two things. You have what's called dry brushing, which is one way, where you highlight dark parts. Then you have what's called doing a wash. Yeah, this is dry brushing, but a wash is, this is giving me troubles here. A wash is when you kind of, if you have acrylic paint, you load up, you have something that's painted acrylic paint, say it's light brown, and you want to darken all the cracks. You go ahead and you use oil paint, and you water it down like crazy, and it goes into the cracks, and it's just the exact opposite of what do you call, of dry brushing. It's the exact 180-degree opposite. And depending upon what you do, and then you can do what's called a glaze. Glaze is kind of cool. There again, it's got a different effect every time you do it. Okay, folks, I think I've shown you enough. I'll tell you what I'll do. Let me go and finish this up, and we'll go and look at the final piece. Back in a bit. Hey, kids, it's Richard with Surreal Sculptures. What do you know? Anyway, we're done dry brushing your piece. Now, as you can see, the black, it's hard to explain, but you got areas there that are kind of black, the cracks mostly, mixed in with some brown. Part there. That's all right. And like you can see, I'm going to touch it up a little bit more. And then what'll happen is, see those little doodad? That's where the silver rivets are going to go. There's rivets here, there's rivets there, and there's rivets there. You just paint it with kind of a silvery paint. But anyway, that's how you dry brush, and it looks really nice and nasty. And when I wrap it with the simulated string, it'll look really cool. You know, then we start putting some layers of material and color and so on. Anyway, this is Richard with Surreal Sculpture. See you soon. Hello, gang. This is Richard with Surreal Sculptures showing you. Guess what's in there? That's right. Your new head is in there. It's been degassed, but it's still going to bubble up anyway. And that is a butterfly mold or jeweler's mold. And when that comes out, I'll show you how I carved that up. This is waste. This is waste. This is what was left over. I made a little bit too. You always want to make. It's smarter to make a little too much than a little bit too less. So what I do is I just pour the excess on this plastic lid, and then just when it dries, it'll come off like it's rubber. It doesn't stick to anything. And then what I do is I carve it up and use it for scrap. You can use it to make junk molds. It's pretty handy. Anyway, this is your mold. It's cooking right now. Talk later.